Good evening, Piper and Grayson. Doing another book reading for you guys tonight. This time, it is Curious George Rides a Bike by H.A. Ray. Alright. Love you guys. I miss you. Let's get into it. This is George. He lived with his friend and the man with the yellow hat. His friend, the man with the yellow hat. He was a good little monkey, but he was always curious. This morning, George was curious the moment he woke up because he knew it was a special day. At breakfast, George's friend said, "Today we are going to celebrate because just 3 years ago this day I brought you home with me from the jungle. So tonight I'll take you to the animal show, but first I have a surprise for you." He took George out to the yard where a big box was standing. George was very curious. Out of the box came a bicycle. George was delighted. That's what he had always wanted. He knew how to ride a bicycle, but he had never had one of his own. "I must go now," said the man, "but I'll be back in time for the show. Be careful with your new bike and keep close to the house while I'm gone." George could ride very well. He could even do all sorts of tricks. Monkeys are good at that. For instance, he could ride this way with both hands off the handlebars. And he could ride this way like a cowboy on a wild bronco, I guess. Also, he could ride this way. And he could also ride backwards. But after a while, George got tired of doing tricks and went out into the street. The newspaper boy was just passing by with a bag full of papers. "That's a fine bike you got there," he said to George. "How would you like to help me deliver the papers?" He handed George the bag and told him to do one side of the street first and then turn back and do the other side of the street. George was very proud, and as he rode off with his bag. He started to deliver the papers on one side of the street, and as he had been told, when he came to the last house, he saw a little river in the distance. George was curious. He wanted to know what the river was like, so instead of turning back to deliver the rest of the papers, he just went on. There was a lot to see at the river. A man was fishing from the bridge. A duck family was paddling downstream. And two boys were playing with their boats. George would have liked to stop and look at the boats, but he was afraid the boy might find out that he had not delivered all the papers, so he rode on. While riding along, George kept thinking of the boats all the time. It would be such fun to have a boat. But how could he get one? He thought and thought, and then he had an idea. He got off the bicycle, took a newspaper out of the bag, then began to fold it. First he folded down the corners like this. Then he folded both the edges up, brought the edges and ends together, and flattened the sides and flattened it sideways. Then he turned one corner up, then the other one, again brought the ends together and flattened it sideways. Then gently he pulled the ends open, and there it was, his boat. Oh, pretty well done, if you ask me. Now the moment had come to launch the boat. Would it float? It did indeed. So George decided to make some more boats. Finally, he had used up all the papers and had made so many boats that he could not count them all. A whole fleet. Watching his fleet sailing down the river, George felt like an admiral. But watching his fleet, he forgot to watch where he was going. Uh-oh. Let's see where this is going. Telling you guys, you should always be watching where you're going. Whether it's walking, pedaling a bike, whatever it may be. Ah, smash, bang. He ran straight into a rock and went flying off of his bike. Yikes. Suddenly there was a terrible jolt and the bicycle had hit a rock and George flew off his seat head first. Oh no. Luckily George was not hurt, but the front wheel of the bicycle was all out of shape and the tire was blown out. Tisk. I'd be carrying his bicycle back home now.